Hello, everyone. Welcome to your afternoon show with the return of Dan. Welcome back, sir. Teeth looking pearly white as ever. Haven't been on for a while. What have you made of the second half of the season so far? Let's just get a quick recap if we can, and then we're going to discuss Kobbie Mainoo as it is his birthday today. We've got some stuff from MAINOOS on the wage bill, Nagelsmann's future, Casemiro's done an interview, and we may have a couple of lines from the press conference depending on how long we're going for. But yeah, just kick us off with a quick recap because it's been a while since we spoke. What have you made in the last 6 months?
It seems like since Manchester United is having a bad season, I mean with the injuries, so even I had gone through a off season. I had some surgery on my with my gums, so that's where I was out. But I was very eager to come back on the shows. I was really missing these shows. But nothing great in terms of Manchester United doing on the pitch. I was expecting us to at least do something good for us to cherish for at least next season also. But seems like it's like a free season again, free pass
Yeah.
this season as well, and we have to reset, press the reset button again in the coming summer. Uh, Only positive thing is like the youth players evolving has been only positive this season.
Mm.
But apart from that, everything seems to be falling off, and we need new faces in the team. We need new faces in the coaching staff, the all the other departments. So I think the summer has to be a bigger one this time.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the youth players there, which gives me the perfect segue. So thank you for that. Kobbie Mainoo is the first player we are going to discuss. Have to talk about him. We've spoke about him past week quite a lot, to be fair. So I'm almost going to let you take the floor with this. But you look at him, what he's done this season. I was having a look how many appearances he's had. Only 24 games in all comps for United. The goals he's scored, the Liverpool goal, the one, even his first one against, was it Newport? I think in the FA Cup.
The
Um,
curler,
Pardon?
the curler from outside the box.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was against, but you had obviously Wolves, which was the is probably his best one. The Liverpool one was a great finish, and then there was one against Newport, which was his first goal for the club. But the goals he scored, fantastic. The talent he possesses, amazing. Me and Sam spoke about the contract talks, looking to extend his contract, which is amazing news as well. But the future seems absolutely massive for him, doesn't it?
Exactly, and we are actually lucky to have a player kind of Maino in our team.
Yeah.
That too, when we were struggling a lot, that too, especially on the midfield area, we were in a need of a great midfielder, and we were looking out when we had a kind of a spark sitting behind the club, and now we have him in our team, and he's very young, but his age doesn't matches what he does on the pitch, and the kind of comfortability, the confidence he provides to all the viewers. So when I saw him play, it never gives me like he's gonna go do a mistake, because we every time he feels when we have seen playing McFred, we always feel like they are going to do some mistake. But with this kid, I think every time he has the ball, he's so confident, and he is so intelligent, and his footwork, everything is, he has what we need from a midfielder, and he's just 19. I mean, like we are so lucky to have him, and I was like it was, I thought he was more than 20, but when I saw his birth date, and he's just turned 19.
Mad.
And we are also lucky to have like players like Kamwala and Hoyland, who is 21, and even
Hmm.
Ahmad also 21. So these kind of, and Garnacho also somewhere around 21. So all these players who are regular starter for a club, who should be at the top of the level, just shows like how much this club is being carried upon the shoulders of these youth players. And I think, yeah, we are very at least for 4 to 5 years we are safe with that midfield area, but we need to protect him. We need to provide him, I mean, a good background, a good support, because you know that this club, when it comes to this club, you will have all the pressures from outside, the demand from the fans and the club will be huge. So in order to, we know that all the potential he has now, and he's not the player of the future, he's the player now, as already Fabregas has mentioned about that. So yeah, he's going to be a regular starter for us. He has already shown us that alongside Casemiro. I'm not sure whether Casemiro is a part of the future, but yeah, we need kind of a good player, a proper professional player along with him, and we can boss that midfield from the coming season.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's going to save us like 60, 70 million quid in the market, doesn't it? That kind of De
Yeah,
Jong player that we was looking for. I mean, I'm not saying they're very similar, but in terms of composure on the ball, they are. Um, I look at him and I just think I don't know. I think generational talent gets thrown around quite a lot, but England, me and Sam again was discussing last night on the show. England don't usually produce these kind of players. You know what I mean? It's usually
yeah,
technicians like in Portugal and Spain and these kind of countries. They produce them. But for United to bring through a player like this, when we've had, you mentioned McFred before, which was just almost like a forgotten memory. Um, to go from that to a technician like Mainoo is just like a huge step up, and the young talent that we have as well. If you can build around that and get the right players around him, I mean, they will grow to be top talent. I believe all of them. I think Garnacho is arguably one of the players of the season. I don't know if you'd agree with that. Him, Dalot, Mainoo probably in that kind of conversation. I think Højlund likewise as well has been, he struggled at times. His past couple of games he struggled at the start, but you see when he gets service, when he's on a roll, he's going to score goals. So really, you've almost got a spine there of Cambuala, Mainoo, Højlund, Garnacho. Ahmad, you mentioned as well, who can, get experienced, seasoned players who are reliable, don't get injured all the time around and build on that. There is something really promising there, isn't there?
yeah, exactly. We have struggled to form a 11, like starting 11. We know when it comes to Liverpool, City, Chelsea, like kind of you can guess 7 to 8 players who's gonna start for sure. But
Hmm.
that's not the case with United. Maybe recently we have seen like regular 11 because we only had 11 players available. But this has to change, and we need to come to a like you have seen all the successful team in the past. You have seen that their starting 11 has been consistent, but in our case, the formation, the starting 11 changes every time. So that's where you build a chemistry when you let them play together on a regular basis,
Hmm.
and that's not the case with United. You see every time a player play alongside a player, the next game he's switched on with another player. So that's where you cannot build a chemistry between the players. So you need to let them play together, and for that we need players who are more available more often, which has not been the case this season. So with players like Mainoo, Garnacho, Hoyland, they need player who are playing alongside them on a regular basis, and not they are, I mean, available for 2 months, then they are off for 3 months. So that's never going to build a strong team here with these kind of players. And you know that these players will be available at least for 80 to 90% of the season, and you need similar kind of a player alongside them who will be available for like 80 to 90% of the season, and that's where you can build a strong team. And but yeah, it's good to see that these kind of players are less prone to getting injured. That's a positive thing, because we have seen like with injuries every player, I mean, almost like a second to third player is getting injured, and those are not like 30 plus, those are like 25 to 30 age. We are seeing the players are getting injured, and that's really terrible for us. It has to change. But you need, if you want to build a strong team who can play regular football on a season, then you need to get players who are less injury prone, because in English Premier League is a very tough league where you need that physicality and more endurance body wise. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. It cannot be done in one season, but yeah, at least you can give a good start to the season in the summer with getting at least 2 to 3 players who are regular starters. When you get 2 to 3 players who are regular starters, then you have like four already youths who are regular starters. Then 3 players, you get total seven, and 8 and 9 you can get regular starters. So then you can rotate some people there. So that's where you have to build your season. But yeah, it's a good start for us in terms of youth. They are the foundation of the club.
Yeah, absolutely pivotal that Man United get the recruitment right in the summer. Otherwise, we could set ourselves back another kind of 2 to 3 years. I think Shreyas has put a good question in there, saying what sort of a player profile would suit Mainoo as a partner? Is anyone you have in mind for that position? Anyone you've seen, whether it's in the Premier League, whether it's abroad, whether it's in international football, who you're a fan of? Let's just say, even if it's kind of like a dream signing or whatever it is you want to call it, who do you think would be good for him? Who would complement him? Do you think?
I think again, going for a central defensive midfielder would be a good one. I would have definitely liked Palina in our team, because
Yeah.
you see now Maino is not like a player who plays alongside CDM. He can play both as a supporter to the CDM, as well as you've seen in
Hmm.
recent games. Bruno is coming back and letting Maino go up the field and
Yeah.
taking a more kind of a cam role. and that's why you need a CDM kind of a maybe you know that Casemiro is not going to be a future of this club, so you need to replace Casemiro soon enough. So in that's where I wanted kind of a player of a Palina who can be more strong in that midfield. And
Yeah.
I would have liked Declan Rice, but then again he's gone somewhere else with a huge amount. But yeah, kind of that kind of a player we need. And I think there is a player Neves, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah, Yao
João.
Neves in Benfica.
Yeah. I would have
Yeah.
loved him, but I'm not sure whether he's more towards that kind of a CDM role or kind of a box to box player. But yeah,
Yeah, from what I saw, I think he is. I think someone like a Neves. I think the players you mentioned actually are almost perfect for him. Declan Rice, obviously, the transfer is never ever going to happen because he's just gone to Arsenal for 100 million quid, and he's the only player really of late where you've looked at it where 100 million pounds been spent, and he actually kind of makes it valid, if you know what I mean. Like money's been spent on Grealish or Anthony or Coutinho, Dembele, these kind of players. You look at Declan Rice, you're like, yeah, it's probably worth that for like the step he's took up and the level he's taken Arsenal to as well. But I do think that revamp of the midfield is going to be interesting. I think with Casemiro, and we had a story saying that Ineos are conscious of balancing the club's overinflated wage bill. I think that is definitely someone who they're going to look at. Rafael Varane, potentially, Harry Maguire, who are all on 200k plus. Do you think it is a case of being that cutthroat where you look at the players and they're like, I know they've got experience, I know the leaders, whatever, but in order to kind of get this wage bill down and get it, around 200k, the top earners, let's say, for example, they're going to have to move players on like that, aren't they?
yeah, definitely, because this this has become kind of a roadblock for us to get new players, because you see that the wage bills are so high, so we are reluctant to go for another player to fit in the team just because we are already have so many players who are highly paid, and we don't have that wage left in the bank to pay to the players. So that has become a roadblock. But at the same time, this work out like a mentality thing. When you pay more to the player, then that mentality thing, the ego comes into the game, and that's where you don't want our players to become or to be overhyped. They can make they can structurize this thing in a way like they buy them for like 100 and pay them like 100 and 150 grand a week, and if they performs well, then a kind of a bonus structure you can prepare in
Yes.
that way and give them a bonus. You just perform and get the wage. So that needs to be the structure in the club, but it has not been the case, because when it comes to Man United, the players knows that whatever they ask or demand, they will get it. So that
Yeah.
has to change. I hope and I believe that Ineos will change that thing. It was there from long ago, but now I think it has to change, and it will change, I believe that, with
Yeah.
Ineos.
I think they definitely need to, because again, also with like negotiating, that comes into it when they're looking at players and like they're going to turn around and go, "Well, I'm sorry, mate, but you've just paid." Agents are going to go, "You just paid £85 million for Anthony, and you've put him on £200,000 a week. You're coming to one of my clients who's won multiple trophies. He's done this, he's done that. He's improved. He's probably a better player than Anthony. So what warrants you coming in saying, "Oh, we're only going to pay 45 million and we're only going to give him 100k a week?" Like it affects future negotiations. It has such an impact on everything. And that Marcus Rashford one really kind of, I don't think Ineos would be happy about that behind closed doors, because it kind of sets the precedent. Then even with Marcus, how inconsistent he's been, a lot of people at the time maybe would have been saying, it's warranted. He's just scored 30 goals. He's backfiring again. But I think hindsight's an easy thing. But I think looking back at it now, you kind of like, I don't think you should have given him that much money. It's too
Yeah,
much in it.
maybe they can bring in kind of a structure that these days IT companies have, like you perform well and you will get a variable pay
Yeah,
that is only all based upon your performance of
yeah,
the year. So they can bring in that kind of a thing, and you will see the performance really well in
yeah.
the team.
Like if they could have offered something to Marcus, say, look, if you hit 30 goals again, you'll get £300,000 a week, no problem whatsoever. If you don't, you go back down to your basic, which is 150 or 200. I just don't know how feasible that is. You know what agents are like in football nowadays. I mean, they will drag every single penny out of you as much as they can. Bonuses for the most random things ever. But yeah, I think that is something they definitely need to look at. But yeah, let me know in the comments whether you're watching this live or watching this later on, your thoughts on that wage bill, what players you would remove in the summer. We've spoken about Casemiro, who's actually done an interview with, I think it's like a Brazilian media outlet. because I didn't really recognise it. And he was talking about his move to United actually from Real Madrid. And I thought it was interesting. He said, I remember it was a Friday, almost everything was done. The only thing that was missing was my signature, and we just had to do my medical. I went to talk with Ancelotti because I was supposed to train, but I couldn't train because the transfer was imminent. So we went to talk to Ancelotti basically, enter his office, and Ancelotti was crying, he said. And he was like, why are you crying? Da da da. He said he didn't want to leave. He said he loved him very much. But obviously he'd already committed to Man United and his word was more important than anything. But I thought that was interesting. Do you think if Casemiro, looking back now, do you think he may have made a mistake? But I know obviously the first season he was successful, one of the players of the season, won a trophy, came third. So in that respect, he's done his job. But you look at how this season's gone, how the tactical setup is around him. Do you think maybe it would have been better for him to stay at Madrid? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it in two different ways. One is like if he would have stayed in Real Madrid, he might have won a couple of trophies there as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was really surprised when we got him because Real Madrid was performing really well and he was the regular starter for the team and he was actually the star of that team. And I mean the trio of Cruz, Casemiro, and Modric was totally tearing apart all the teams, all the opponents in Champions
yeah,
League and in La Liga. So it was a shock for me that, and I really liked a player kind of Casemiro to come in our team because that's where we are missing a CDM. And when we got him, I was really happy. But I still think that he has still not lived up to his standards. The
yeah.
level he had shown in Real Madrid, he has not still reached that standard. I'm not sure whether this has to do with his age dropping up. I mean, could be, but where you can see in bits and pieces, like he has been looked like a lazy kind of like a martial
Like he
kind of
can't be
a.
asked, isn't it? Yeah, it's more
Yeah,
the body language that's concerning with me. I think you're spot on
yeah,
with that.
exactly. It's kind of a martial thing. I mean, the body language doesn't seem like he's interested. Whenever
Yeah.
he loses the ball and he's not tracking back and he's just jogging back, that really gives me like a goosebumps and like
Mm.
so much. It angers me a lot when I see a player tracking back after losing the ball. So that has. At this point we have come to the stage we cannot expect better from Casemiro. So that's where I think it's could be the right time to move on from Casemiro and get a good CDM because you know that now you have players like Mainoo who needs more kind of supporting role. I mean, you need to support that those kind of players and to build a future alongside those kind of players. So I don't think Casemiro is the future of this club. So I think, but yeah, I was really happy. First season went very well,
Hmm.
but now I think he has been missing that mark, and he looks disinterested, and that's what it has showed in that interview he has done. Like I'm sure that he is really missing Real Madrid because he's not gained much in Manchester United because he's kind of a fighter. He needs trophy to move on, and it's like it's not worked out for both the club as well as for the player. I think it's good to move on more early than later.
It's interesting because me and Chivy was debating this, right? And Chivy was like, he said he still thinks he's a good player. He thinks it's more of the system, why he's being exposed, and which I agree with to a certain extent. But it's like you just mentioned then, the body language. Some of the passes that he's doing, he's just giving it away in silly areas. Um, what's your take on that in your opinion? Why has he dropped off so much? What's the main concerning thing for you?
I think it's the mindset of the whole team. I would say because I can only compare United with Real Madrid because the mindset, the mentality of both the teams were totally different. When you see each player from Real Madrid, they show so much of enthusiasm in the team, and they show so much of fight. But that's missing in Manchester United team. When you see the players are not fighting for the game, and they are not fighting for the manager, not fighting for in order to win the game, and that was totally different when he was there in Real Madrid. Even though they are 2-0 or 3-0 down, you will see them each and every player of Real Madrid were fighting for the game. But it's not the same case in with United. So it's like a collective thing I could see in this current situation with Casemiro, where he could see like when the whole mentality of the team drops, his mentality also
Yeah.
drops. So that's one thing I can say. But to one side, I can also see that we the team has been harsh with Casemiro also because I mean the structure wise, because you see many times Casemiro has been left alone in the midfield and nobody was there to support him and he was exposed a lot, and
Hmm.
that put the blame on Casemiro that he's the midfielder and we lost the battle in midfield. But the reality is nobody else is there to support him. When you see Bruno Fernandes and McTominay or Mason Mount, both of them are up on the pitch, and he's left alone in the midfield. And
Yeah,
that's where we were losing all the games because we were losing the midfield battle.
yeah.
But that has to, I mean, I'm not sure how it's going to work out because this formation is definitely not working out. There needs to be tweak done in that formation because that's not favorable for Casemiro. But yeah, with Kobbie Mainoo coming in, this has stabilized a bit. But still, I'm not 100% sure that we still have like a good structure at the midfield.
Yeah, there's systematic flaws throughout, isn't there? I think the way Tanag wants to play high press, counter pressing game as well, quick, direct, transitional football. But because of the changes he's had to make in defence, so you bring Maguire in, you bring Camboala, who both of them aren't amazing on the ball. Maguire isn't the quickest, so that line, defensive line, drops back. It can't commit to the press, so then there's a big gap. Likewise, we're trying to press from the front, but the press is a little bit misorganised. Bruno's a bit ill-disciplined in the way he presses, so he goes off and wonders. So that's why there's such a big gap in the middle. And every single team we've come, I mean, I'm sure you probably remember the game against Wolves and Spurs at the start of the season. Evident straight away that midfield, Cunha and Sarabia, I remember that like it was yesterday. They were just dropping in them little spaces, get on the half turn. Maddison did it as well. Basuma and Sarr for Tottenham. And that has been a flaw ever since. And the reason why I'm so annoyed with Ten Hag is because he's not tried to pivot whatsoever from it. He's not tried to be a little bit more pragmatic. He's not tweaked a couple of things, which last season we saw. Lost to Brentford, lost to Brighton, stopped going long, a bit more possession based. I mean, started going long, sorry, instead of trying to play out from the back. He tweaked it and we started getting results. He's not done anything this season, has he, at all, to try and attempt to kind of bolster that midfield a little bit, which is madness to me.
Yeah, it seems like we have gone back to like kind of a Ole kind of a play style where you just counter attack and win the game. So,
But at
but
least,
when
even with Ollie, Dan, at least like it
yeah,
would be a
even
bit more. The midfielders would be closer to the back line, wouldn't they?
yeah, with Midfred in the team,
Yeah,
both were like kind of a more energetic players. So we had like that energy in the midfield to run around a lot. But
yeah,
no, it's not the case. Casemiro cannot run whole 90 minutes with the full energy. And even Bruno Fernandes, as you mentioned, he's not disciplined. That's what you'll see. Every part of the pitch is covered by Bruno Fernandes. That's where it might look positive because there was one stat that came out like he has run so many miles, but that's actually not good for the whole team. When you see a single player is running so much, that's not a positive
or
thing. That
longevity, either, Dan.
yeah,
You think like at a certain point, I'm sure with Bruno Fernandes, he's going to hit a breaking point where injuries will really start creeping in because he's putting some miles during his season, hasn't
yeah, exactly. But you have to control Bruno Fernandes. Even when we were getting, I think the very one manager who has used Bruno Fernandes in a very better way is Carrick. That
he?
one or
Yeah,
two games when he played against Chelsea,
I remember
he
that.
was
Yeah,
playing kind of a like a, you mean I mean I always mention Real Madrid because I really like their midfield. So he was playing kind of a role of a Modric there in that game with Chelsea. He was like a more disciplined and not running around all over the pitch, but on the particular on the left and right hand side of the pitch.
hmm
That's why I want him to play as well because you know that you have to be disciplined when you want to control the game from the midfield, and that was so missing. And that's where you mentioned like the high press that and the defense, the less space of the defenders
hmm
creates a big space between the attackers and the defenders. That brings so much space and gives so much space for the opponents to excel themselves. And even Andres Pereira also mentioned that he enjoyed playing against United when he can see that so many spaces in the middle. So that's even everybody can see that glitch in the team. That
yeah.
everybody can see that flaw. But I think it surprises me to see that again and again, every game, game by game, you can see the same thing happening, and but still not rectified. I mean, like as a fans, we can see why can't the coaches and the manager can see that flaw in the team.
Do you think it's bizarre how given how we've set up this season to play, do you think it's bizarre to let Fred go? Because you look at the energy, tenacity,
Yeah.
that's really missing in the midfield. I'm not saying he could have been a six because we saw what happened when he played there. But you look at the type of player that he is, surely it was a bit of a mistake letting him go, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough decision because
Yeah,
as
yeah.
as a starter, I don't prefer him, but as a bench role, I definitely
Yeah,
players kind of Fred. Even McTominay, I like him as a bench player. Uh, but yeah, with Fred, the thing was like
half
he
and half,
sometimes
wasn't it?
makes, yeah, sometimes he makes so much like easy mistakes, then you that loses all the confidence from him, and in the another game he will be like a Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
So it's a very tricky one with Fred. But yeah, I would have liked him to be on the bench.
Mm. I think Sam called him a bipolar chef, didn't he? He's like sometimes you come home, the
I
house will
remember.
be burning down. Sometimes you come home to be a 5-star meal there. You just never knew what you was going to get with him. Shreya says, how much are Rashi and Sancho on? Rashford's on 350k, and Sancho's on 300k a week. Charlie Malman says we're playing 5-0-5. There's no structure in that team at all. This type of football is what we play with 8-year-olds. And he put Nagelsmann has gotten the German job until after the World Cup. Never thought he'd be the next United manager. Will Bayern come and snatch Eric Ten Hag? Now, we're going to discuss Nagelsmann, so thank you very much for that, Charlie, because again, you give me the perfect segue, so I'm loving this. He will sign a new contract with Germany until 2026. So I think he's going to do the World Cup as well as the Euros. He said on signing a new deal, this is a decision of the heart. It's a great honour to be able to coach the national team and work with the best players in the country with the successful, passionate performances, with the chance to inspire an entire country. Also, 2 wins against France and Netherlands in March really touched me. We want to play a successful home Euros together, and then I'm really looking forward to the challenge of a World Cup together with my coaching staff. For you, Dan, out of the list of managers, again, because we've got so much to discuss, we haven't done this in depth really. The list of managers that are out there at the moment, was he ever high on that list for you, Nagelsmann?
Yeah, definitely. He has shown what he can do with the team, and he was not that famous when he did what he did back there in Bundesliga. So I think he has done a great things there. So, but these days I'm really not confident with the high profile managers because whenever they come to Premier League, they are totally a flop here.
Yeah.
You've seen that happening with so many managers, kind of Moreno and Tuchel, and even the high managers as well. I mean, the high rated managers as well have not performed in Premier League. So I'm not sure which manager is going to work out here because
Yeah.
the last 10 years we have like so
Tried
many
everything,
managers.
haven't we? Tried the
Yeah,
best friend at the club, the guy who's played there. We tried Van Gaal, who's a very stubborn
yeah.
coach. We tried Mourinho, who's box office and a winner. We tried Ten Hag, who was the obvious choice. Like,
So like it's I'm really confused like which manager is
mm,
going to work out in this club. But yeah, Nagelsmann is definitely there on the top list to have in our team. So yeah, but he's gone. At least we'll have less rumors to face because otherwise you will see every day,
yeah,
every other day you'll see Nagelsmann rumored with Manchester United. So I think now we have one less candidate to offer. But yeah, we are talking in a way as if Ten Hag is getting going to get sacked. But I think if he performs still, if he can give maybe like a majority of wins in the remaining season, I think Ineos will give him another chance with a better
mm.
summer market, summer transfer.
Yeah. I want to talk about the style as well, but just before I do that, we're currently on 4,787 subs with 13 off 4,800. So, like I said, if you're watching it live or later on, please do hit that subscribe button. It means more than you know and help us get to 5k, which we hope to reach at least by the end of the season. So, yeah, appreciate everyone who follows us and interacts and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you can hit that subscribe button, that'd be amazing. What style of football personally do you want to see, Dan? What is it? You know, would you rather watch a more possession-based style? Are you happy with the transitional game as long as it's implemented correctly? Like, what's your preference?
My preference is to dominate the game, and we cannot dominate the game with kind of a counter-attacking style of a play. That's why I like a 4-3-3, where you dominate midfield with like rotational kind of a role in the midfield with one player or two players staying behind and one player helping out the attackers. But at the same time, I would like to see us dominating. When Tanak started his career in Manchester United, the very first thing I wanted from him was to dominate games rather than getting results. I was not bothered about getting results in the beginning because you need to make a team a style of a play. You need to build that in the team rather than getting points first. And once you have a good style of a play, a consistent style of a play, then you will definitely get the points on the road. But that has been missing. It seems like Tanag is out of his all his options and his ideas have gone by. And one of the one of the bad thing I have seen is like he is reluctant to make a change in his style. When you see that this is not working on, try something out. At least try
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
It seems like he's not trying anything, and he's going with the same style of a play which is not working out. And at the end of the day, it's not going to work out, and it will cost you your job. But personally, I would like to see like a 4-3-3. Now also we are playing 4-3-3, but kind of with misstructured. The midfield don't know what their roles are, but yeah, 4-3-3 would be my style of play with more controlled way, where you want to see that more dominating rather than just when you get the ball you just play a long pass. I don't want to see that. I want to
Yeah.
see more grounded
Control.
pass. You just look for a player who is free, just pass the ball there. But that has been so much missing these days. And whenever you see a player, he's and they wait a lot. I mean, with Onana and defenders, I'm getting so much frustrated. Even the last game, the goal that came up with was when Onana had the ball. He had so many options to play the
Oh,
ball. Just play a simple pass, and instead he asked for a press from the opponent's time. And when the opponent just came nearby, at that time all the other players are also already marked up, and
yeah.
then his last option was to play a long pass to Garnacho and Hoyland, and then they messed it up there, and then we are in a counter attack. We are facing the counter attack, and that's why I want, just play it simple, just play football, man. Why
Yeah.
are you making it so much complicated?
No,
And
yeah.
that's where, yeah, that's all we demanded from Mickfred as well. Just simple football, just pass the ball. You don't We are not asking you to play like a Ronaldinho, or make a cross or make a shot like a Beckham or a Cristiano Ronaldo, or a long shot. Just we want you to place a simple pass. That's all we want from our United players, and that's totally missing in the last from last 2 years.
Yeah, I absolutely echo that. Tim99, who's a real Red Ultra member, said, I think Bayern might be interested in Eric Ten Hag one day. The weird thing is, the situation we're in at the minute, if it was a different manager, he would still be like probably the obvious one who we would go and get, Eric Ten Hag. If he's still at Ajax now, I mean, like, he'd be the one who we'd go and get now.
Yeah,
But I agree with like the style of play. You look at the teams near the top, City, Arsenal, Liverpool's slightly different. I prefer their style in a sense because it's more kind of heavy metal. It's more, high press and but if you look at the style, it does seem more sustainable. Do you know what I mean? Like City and Arsenal, the way they always dominate games, they've always got control, they're always on top of chance creation. It does seem like it's more. Um, there's more of a chance of winning games when you play that kind of style, I think, I would probably say. But I'm almost like a bit of a hypocrite because I really like counter-attacking football when it's done correctly. Like Madrid in Champions Leagues, they've
yeah,
not always won it by being possession-based team. They've done it by killing teams on the counter-attack. And they've done it for a long, long time with players like Vinicius, Rodrigo. You've got Mbappe coming in there now. These kind of players. And then senior ones built around them, your Modric's, your Cruz, your Benzemas, and these kind of things. I'd love to see that at United. I'd love to keep players like Højlund, Garnacho, these kind of guys, but then also bring in players who are seasoned, experienced, and have won things and know how to control and dictate a game as well at the same time. I think that would be okay, but the problem is at the moment, it just seems very disjointed. It doesn't seem like there's any leaders in the team whatsoever. We can't get any consistency out of it. And I've seen within halves of games, for example, the one against Spurs in particular, if anyone goes back and watches that first half, the amount of turnovers we get in their half, the amount of times we absolutely we pressure them into like moments where they're almost panicking, but we just
yeah.
don't finish the chances, and then they kill us off in the second half. So I can see what Ten Hag's trying to do. I just don't think he has the players available there to do it. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, with the Ajax team, which whatever he has done with Ajax, the team had those kind of a players who are kind of you see in FIFA, you see players with high. I
Yeah,
mean, the configuration high. So
yeah,
every
yeah,
player in Ajax had that high rating in their
yeah.
profile, but in United, you don't have that.
Low, low. Casemiro's
Yeah,
low, low. You've got a few others who are low, low as well. Yeah.
this could be a good content for a show. Maybe we can rate all the players
Yeah,
high.
yeah, yeah. United
Yeah,
style of play, ultra attacking, low, low. Yeah, spaces everywhere.
space negative
Yeah,
kind of a thing. Like yeah, that's where you see that Ajax had that kind of a players who are like very more physical, more willing to drop back and like kind of every player was kind of a box to box player in that team. That's missing there in our team, and I could hardly mention few players who are at that Ten Hag level. What Ten Hag demands from the team, maybe Garnacho,
Yeah.
Kobbie Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes if he is disciplined, and Hoyland. So 4 to 5 players you can mention who are there in the team who can play kind of a Ten Hag kind of a style, but remaining more than half of the team are not up to that level of Ten Hag style. So, but
Yeah.
still the fault is in Ten Hag because he's still continuously trying to expect something which you can never get from these type of players. And definitely you cannot replicate the Ajax style here in United because you don't have those set of players. Maybe in future, maybe after a couple of transfer window, you can get those kind of players. Uh, but yeah, that's not going to happen here. Even I felt like Amrabat was that kind of a player, Ajax kind of a player, but that
Hmm.
he's also not working out here. Even Sabitzer, I felt like he was that kind of a player, but those players are also not working out. So definitely he has to change his style because those that style is not working out. But yeah, hope for a good in the coming season.
Going to be interesting to see what happens in summer. But sticking with Eric Ten Hag, if you are just joining now, we've got live comments coming in from the press conference, and he's just been speaking about Alejandro Garnacho, which is very interesting. So let me read these quotes out for you. Eric Ten Hag says Alejandro Garnacho has apologised for liking social media posts which criticised the Man United manager after the draw with Bournemouth. Ten Hag said Alejandro is a young player and has a lot to learn. He apologised for it, and after that, we moved on, which is very, very interesting. He got asked about Sancho's impact at Dortmund. You can see what the journalists are doing there. He says, we know he is a fantastic player. That's not a surprise. That is not the issue, which is a little bit of a dig at him. Just your thoughts on that situation, Dan. Do you think that's the right way to go about it? And do you think maybe Jadon Sancho could have learned a thing or two from the way Garnacho's done it?
Yeah, definitely. That's what we also demanded from. I mean, we expected from Sancho. You know, like every player is gonna make mistakes, but the only thing to come back is just settle it down at the in the behind the scenes. You just settle it with your manager and just talk about it and come to a common ground. And you know that you have done a mistake. A simple sorry can solve a problem, but that's kind of a ego you have seen in the players
Yeah,
that just restrict them to like that's really affecting their career as well because you see that Sancho could have who was expected to be kind of a top player
hmm,
when he came from Dortmund, but this small misunderstanding or the behavioral thing has really dealt. It's really unable to I'm unable to digest because you see that in the beginning of the season, it came like Ten Hag helped Sancho to come out of his personal issues and then again, you see Sancho's having some issues with Ten Hag, so it's just not fitting each other. But yeah, we don't know the reality of the situation, what happened at the behind the scenes. But yeah, the simple solution could have been a single sorry. But those things are missing. Maybe with Garnacho, what he has done, that could be a good thing for him as a career because these kind of things can even turn up to a career destroyer also because you've seen
yeah.
so many players destroying their careers because of their egos. And now I think with Garnacho, I think that he has learned, and we have so many youth players. They might have also seen this situation, and now they know like how to
Exactly.
how to behave in with the manager or how you have to dealt with because they are young players and they are not yet matured enough. Out of the footballing as well as in the football field. But with these kind of situation, will help them to learn more and be more matured enough in the coming days.
Yeah, he sets the precedent, done it for youngsters that are coming up. Absolutely. In regards to the game this weekend, Ten Hag confirms Anthony, McTominay, and Harry Maguire will all feature at Wembley after missing training earlier this week, which is good. I thought Anthony was interesting. Did you watch the Chelsea game, Dan?
Yeah, yeah,
Anthony looked good in that. I don't want
yeah.
to over egg the pudding or whatever, or get overconfident and say it's worth the 85 million quid. But he looked all right, didn't he? And you look at how tired Garnacho was in the last game, which is one of the reasons why he got pulled off. Um, do you
Yeah,
think that could be an interesting inclusion? Maybe a bit of a help at the weekend, or are we getting too ahead of ourselves?
Yeah, definitely. But I'm not sure whether we can start him because you know
Yeah,
that Rashford is always going to start on the left and Garnacho with Garnacho available. He will be starting on the right. But yeah, it's good to see that Anthony is getting back to his normal. I'm not saying like it has been the case right in the previous from the previous few seasons. Like we want players to play football on a normal normal level, and we appreciate that. and
Yeah.
those things they should have been doing that. We are appreciating for them for doing that. So that's the thing with Anthony also. He has done what he's supposed to do in the Chelsea game, and that's what we want. As I mentioned before also, we want them to play simple football, and we are not expecting them to just tear it apart. But yeah, good to see that Anthony has really played well after long
Taking a
time. And
fucking while, on it.
yeah, in the previous season, at least you have seen at least some glimpses of him, like
Yeah.
cutting inside and taking a shot and scoring that kind of a goal. But those kind of a goals. But this season, everything was missing from Anthony. But now we see that in the last game, he has shown us something that it's really good for him for the coming weeks. But yeah, definitely. I'm not confident for him to start the game because you have seen that Garnacho is really doing well on the right hand side. But yeah, good addition to them. And also about mentioning about McTominay, I mean, like it has never been. I'm not sure whether I was. If you tell me this before, I would have never agreed with that. But I'm saying like we really missed him.
Yeah, but you think the goals that he scores, the importance that he's had, people can say what they want about him in midfield or whatever, but as a super sub coming off the bench, he scores, and we need goals. So, say what you want. It is what it is. Ten, I got asked about the FA Cup replays being scrapped. So, again, I don't know if you've heard of this, but the replays as a whole have been completely scrapped. It says it's very sad for British football culture, but it's also inevitable. It's due to the overload in the schedule that's dictated by FIFA and UEFA, which I absolutely agree with. I've seen a couple of people online saying that, good, these things have happened and da da da. But in reality, if you look at the integrity of the league and the football pyramid, and these small clubs sometimes, Dan, like, a replay at United, let's say Maidstone are playing United, or, a team near you in the National League are playing Man United, a replay like that, the amount of money they get off it and the financial kind of bonuses they get from it can almost like keep him afloat for the next couple of years. Like, it's absolutely huge for him. So do you think it's right that they've scrapped it? Probably due to the fact of the amount of games that they're putting in, like all these random, the Club World Cups, the Nations Leagues, all these kind of things. Like, it's almost, I don't know. I don't feel great about it. I want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I think it has, like, again, it has two sides of it. When you see from the perspective of the players and the club, and not the club, I mean the players side, you see that if they are playing one less game, that's definitely an advantage for their own health and their own physicality. Because now we have seen that football is like every 3 to 4 days you are playing one game. But if you are like, but yeah, if you see, specifically with FA Cup, I don't think they are played on midweeks, if I'm not wrong. If they have to, I mean, they postpone the Premier League games and they are played on Saturdays and Sundays.
Mm,
If I'm not wrong, if this has to be again replayed, then that replayed game is going to happen on a Saturday or a Sunday, if
yeah.
I'm not wrong. If it is a midweek, then that's going to be a burden on the players. But if it is going to be happening on the in the weekends, then I think that's a good thing to do. But yeah, as you mentioned about the small clubs benefiting from those kind of games, then definitely those clubs need some revenue to be on that level. I mean, at least to run the club, you need those kind of moments for them to run their own club. But yeah, but if you see from that again, just to summarize these things,
Mm-hmm.
if you see from the players perspective, it's good for them, but it's from the small clubs perspective, it's not that great from them.
Yeah, it's like they've only consulted the big boys with all the money, and they've just said, like, what do you think? And they've gone, yeah, too many games to play. And they've gone, all right, no worries. It's not like they've gone to Dovestone FC or Maidstone or anyone like that and said, what do you guys think? Because they don't pump money into into the institution or whatever you want to call it. He also got asked about Coventry and the way we've been playing, and the style and all this kind of stuff. He said last season was last season. We want to achieve every season. We want to win trophies. We have a big opportunity. We are in a semi-final, but it's a huge challenge, which I think is very interesting. A huge challenge, Coventry in semi-final. Okay. We're frustrated, but we know we can also beat the best teams. We've drew twice against Liverpool. We've beat them in the FA Cup. We played very good against Chelsea. When we play to our levels, we can achieve really high highs. I don't know what... We played very good against Chelsea. I hope he's not alluding to the last game we played against Chelsea. We lost 4-3 in the last 2 minutes.
I
Maybe
think
he's on about the home fixture. I don't know.
I think he's
But
mentioning the same 4-3 because as per him, we played really well until the last moment we bottled it up. So I think he's mentioning the same game.
And Chelsea are like 11th in the league. So what has that got to do with? He confuses me sometimes, Ten Hag. You know, he really, really does. He baffles me when I read some of his comments. That we played really, really good against Chelsea. You're fucking right. You should play really, really well against Chelsea. They're the 12th in the league at the time, or whatever it was. They've been dreadful. They can see goals to everyone. What do you mean we've been really good against Chelsea? Like, what? What are you even talking about? Drawing against Liverpool, I don't know. The standards feel like they are lowering and lowering by the day. With some of these managers and players, and maybe it is the reality situation that we're in because we do have a shit team. But I find them fucking comments bizarre.
I consider this like the game against Chelsea, we would have won it. The game against Liverpool, we would have won it, and the game against the last week, Bournemouth. I think that would have that was an easy game for us. And there we lost like in last three games, we have lost like 7 points. And if we would have we would have got all those 7 points. We would have been so much closer with the fourth spot, and
Yeah,
that's where I'm like losing hope of on this team at least for this
I
season.
I think about the Nottingham Forest result when we got beat after we beat Villa. I think about the Fulham defeat was massive for top four. The draw at Brentford, which we definitely should have lost that game. The loss to Chelsea in the last minutes. The game against Liverpool where we concede again. Just so many games. Bournemouth, like, oh god, it's a nightmare in it. It's been a nightmare of a season.
And you see, I mean, I was having hope till before that Bournemouth game was because both Aston Villa and Tottenham, they are yet to play against. I mean, yeah, Aston Villa has already played with Arsenal. They before that game. I mean, before Bournemouth game, they both Tottenham and Aston Villa, they were yet to play against City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. If I'm
Yeah.
not wrong. So those three games, like at 9 points, so you can easily cover them up if you are playing good. I mean, as a Manchester United, if you are playing good, you can still cover up. You still have a hope to get Champions League next season. But then they bottled it up completely.
Yeah, I agree. Tim 99 says clubs will go under due to the loss of replay income. That's what I'm saying, man. It's sad. Good to see Casemiro back on. He needs to up his performances on the pitch, though, says Sam. Charlie Malman says there's not a single team who plays to get a draw to have a replay. Chelsea is an informed team right now, and United is not. I mean, it seems difficult saying Chelsea are in form. I know they battered Everton like 6-0, but I think saying they're in form's a little bit of a push. And Sam's also saying boost Dan's audio a little bit, apparently a little bit quiet. Well, it's all right now because we're coming to the end of the show anyway, so apologies if the audio level has been a little bit low. But whilst we're on the discussion of Casemiro, Ten Hag spoke about Casemiro, so we'll just read this out, this last bit. It says, this season he struggled with a bad injury he never had in his career, but he always wins. He always win in his career. Everywhere he was, there will be success. I trust he will give us success, and I know he'll need games. He'll be better, and I'm very confident about him. He's a fighter. Why he also won big trophies and is a very important player. I'm just, I don't know. No, it's not, is it? It doesn't feel very... you can't... The thing is, Dan, you can't con United fans, especially like us who watch game in, week out. You cannot con us. We watch the guy. We see what he's doing on the pitch. We discussed it at the start of the show. I think the writing's on the wall for Casemiro. I can't see him for another season here. Surely not.
I mean, this has to do with his injury when you see a situation where Casemiro lost the ball and he's just jogging back to the defense line. But nothing at that point is never explainable for me. Even though he has I mean, bad injury, a Manchester United player should rush back after losing the ball, even though he's ending up being like a cramp or ACL, whatever he gets, he should be rushing back. So that's where I'm not convinced.
And likewise, on the flip side of things, if he is injured and he can't track back, why are you playing him? Yep. Why are you putting him in midfield? Drop him, put Kobbie in the 6 if needs be, which we've seen him play there before. I'm not saying he's perfect for that role, but it's certainly going to be better than a legless Casemiro who's a dinosaur and can't keep... That Chelsea game was, oh my God. If people saw clips from that Chelsea game where Nicholas Jackson just like jogs past him and he's like so slow to try keep up with him. Is it really worth, for someone who has leadership, is it really worth playing him when they're playing like that? It just, I don't know. It's very questionable to me, but Ten Hag is, maybe he's gone a bit mad with this job. It sends fucking managers crazy.
Rodri, I've seen like he kind of plays like a similar role in a City, Rodri. So if you know that you do not have the ability to track back, then you stay behind, right? Like Rodri, you've seen most of the time when he is more confident that we are not going to lose the ball, then only he goes up the field. But with
Yeah.
Casemiro, you see every other move he's above, crossing the half line and going nearby the cam roll or near the box of the opponent, and that's why you cannot track back. When you know that you cannot track back, then why you are going ahead of the pitch?
Yeah, it's very bizarre. Charlie says Chelsea had 3 wins and 2 draws in the last 5 games. That's the same as City. Yeah, I take it they're in form in terms of the results have significantly turned around, but I'm just saying they're still not an amazing team. You can still get at them, which United showed, and we should have won that game. We gave it away in the last 2 minutes. I just think it was a stupid performance from United. But anyway, I digress. We're going to be live later on tonight. I think team of the season. Team of the season's out on FIFA tonight, so I might stream a couple hours on that on Foot Champ. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you come and check it out. If not, there'll be a new show regardless anyway, as always. So please do leave a like on the video for us and subscribe to the channel. Big thank you to Dan for coming on. It's been a while since we had you on, but it's been I've enjoyed the show.
Yeah, really happy to come back. Hope to see you more often.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, of course, we'll see you guys for the Coventry game as well. We'll be live pre-match and post-match with the analysis. So come and join us for that. Apart from that, we'll see you guys in the next one and have a lovely weekend, everyone. See you